case you missed it last night, the committee finally did it. After 2 relatively flawless weeks by committee standards, they finally gave us something to talk about on our live show last night. Go check that out on our YouTube, Apple, Spotify channels, all that. But we'll put the finishing touches on that before we get into the biggest game of the weekend. We're going to cover that. We're going to dive into some bubble watch talk. And, of course, we're going to hand out some upset picks and some best bets at the end of the show. This is Always Talking Ball. Tyler Noe, Lance Barton. As always, real quick, before we get started, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Make sure you click that notification bell on YouTube right now. I think I looked and only 5% of people who watch our show have that notification bell on. So you click that notification bell, you're going to get notifications, obviously, when a new episode drops. Same with Apple and Spotify. Click the follow button right now. That way you'll get notifications when we have a new episode drops. We're going to drop a ton during college football playoff season, conference championships, all that. We're going to bring you the best content we can. Make sure you're following us on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. All right, let's start off here with putting a bow on some of that college football playoff talk from last night. We had a blast on our episode. We had a ton of comments on YouTube, ton of comments on X.
That was fun, man.
Yeah, and just kind of putting finishing touches. Obviously, you can go listen to our reaction, and obviously, the big talking point last night, the big talking point today has been, those 7 to 10 spots.
Yeah.
And I got to thinking too, we talk about the committee and how they they boxed themselves in a situation last year with Boise State, ranking them so high at the beginning they didn't have anywhere to move. I almost think with the Miami thing, they started them off at 18, right? And at that time, we were like, okay, the 10 spots below Notre Dame, that's a pretty big gap. And obviously they've been inching closer. And I just wonder, obviously with hindsight, it's easy to say this, but it's had they just started off Miami ahead of Notre Dame, 1 spot ahead of Notre Dame, head to head, right? I just, and they had both the same amount of losses. When you get to this point, then you just got, okay, maybe you have Oklahoma, Miami, Notre Dame, Alabama, and it kind of just works itself out and it just looks a lot cleaner. You have a lot less. It would be less fun for us, right, to argue about it. But do you think maybe they just boxed themselves in by they put Miami, which we thought Miami probably would have been higher than 18 at the beginning, but they put Miami so far down. And I think it was right off the heels of that SMU loss. So they ranked them so low. And then they were like, we got to overcorrect. So they went to the 15th. The next spot in the next week, and then now they're at 13th. So I'm just wondering if they maybe just boxed themselves in there. Now they got a problem on their hands because if Alabama loses to Auburn, right, they're out of the equation. Miami is up there in that pool of teams with Notre Dame. Then all of a sudden now we're going to count the head to head, and it just gets messy. And it's they do this every year. They make things messy for no reason.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that they were wrong with Miami in the beginning, and now it's making Miami, they're moving them up and they're 13th. I personally think Miami should be 12th. We were texting about it today. Dude, I love this Utah team, and I love Kyle Whittingham. I don't think at this point that Utah should be ahead of Miami. That's just my own personal opinion. I get it. Their 2 losses are to 2 really good teams in BYU and Texas Tech. But, dude, they got boat raced by Texas Tech at home. And if I'm not mistaken, Baron Morton, their starting quarterback, even got hurt in that game, and they brought in Will Hammond, and Hammond dominated still in that game. And that was a total mismatch in Salt Lake at Rice-Eccles.
And I think they were even down to BYU by 10, and they got a late touchdown to cut it to 3.
Right, and their best win currently is against Arizona State, which again, it's not Utah's fault that Sam Leavitt didn't play in that game, but he didn't. Sam Leavitt did not play in that game. And I know they had the Cincinnati win too, but we, including us, we look at this is a collective of things that makes a team really good. When you look at their offensive numbers and their defensive numbers, and you look at all the metrics that they do have, far as the actual, when you take a deep dive into Utah as a team, they are a really good football team. But you can't ignore though wins and losses and who you've beaten and who you lost to and strength of schedules and strength of records and all of that stuff. I know the strength of schedules and the strength of records between Miami and Utah are actually really close together. But I'm not going to sit here and say that Notre Dame game didn't happen. I don't care if it was the first game of the season. That game happened. Just like it should count against Alabama that they lost to Florida State first game of the year. It is counting against them currently. They are ranked 10th in the country. And that's a huge reason why they're ranked 10th and not 8th or ninth, because they did lose to Florida State. That has to matter. It has to matter and count for Miami that they friggin' beat Notre Dame. I'm not necessarily saying that they should be ranked ahead of Notre Dame either. And that may sound contradicting to what I'm trying to say right now, but at the same time, head to head can't be everything. There's a reason why that they play 12 games in a regular season. Like Greg McElroy and Cole Kubelik were talking about it today on their show. Like, you have 12 dress rehearsals that you have to run out there and show what you've got to this committee and to the rest of the country. You can't just look at one game and that's it. Like, that's it. There is no other thing else you look at. So that's where, as far as Notre Dame and Miami is concerned. The reason why I would have Miami 12th ahead of Utah is because I do think that their resume and their wins and losses and things like that are overall better than what Utah has shown at this point. Whether I think Utah is a better football team or not is besides the point. I think if those two teams played on a neutral field tomorrow, it'd be a hell of a football game.
Yeah.
I don't know who is better and who is not, but that's where I am on that. And again, I don't need to keep beating a dead horse. Alabama should not be ranked behind Notre Dame at this point. They shouldn't. I don't think that. Let me ask you this. We keep talking about that we think that Oklahoma and Alabama should be ahead of Oregon as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me flip another one to you. I think Notre Dame, more I was thinking about it today, I think Notre Dame, as of right now, I think Notre Dame should be ahead of Oregon. Notre Dame's got better wins. Notre Dame's got better wins. As of this point, I know Oregon plays.
They don't care about better wins. They've made that clear this year. It's all about better losses, which I absolutely hate.
Yep.
That they're doing it that way.
Yep.
And they've done it. They've done it. I know they've done that way in the past. I know there's been years because I've harped on it in the past. It's just an absolute loser mentality way to look at something and not look at who a team has beat.
That's a great point, because why do you think Alabama dropped 6 spots after losing to Oklahoma? I don't think they dropped 6 spots because they lost to Oklahoma. I think they dropped 6 spots because that was their second. They were okay forgiving the Florida State deal with just one, with that being their only loss.
Now they got into a lump of teams that all had 2 losses. We got to compare the losses, and Oklahoma lost to Ole Miss, and they lost to Texas. Okay, those are good. Notre Dame lost to Miami and A&M. Okay, those are good.
Yep.
Alabama lost to Oklahoma and Florida State. Okay, so there you go.
Yep. Agreed, 100%. So I'm with you on that. I mean, A&M beat Notre Dame in the non-conference, and Indiana didn't play anybody in the non-conference. A&M is ranked 3rd right now in the country. If A&M would have played Indiana State, A&M would probably still be ranked 3rd in the country. They're not really rewarding A&M for going and playing a big-time non-conference game like they did.
Yeah.
And you can go up and down the rankings, and we can keep doing this. But, I agree. So my point is like, we just keep saying that Alabama and Oklahoma should be ranked ahead of Oregon because of the wins that they have, because of their strength of schedule and their strength of record. But I also think Notre Dame, I think it should be Oklahoma 7, Alabama 8, Notre Dame 9, Oregon 10 as of right now, as of today. Oregon has not played USC yet. If Oregon goes out and just spanks USC this Saturday, sure, then move them ahead of Notre Dame at that point. But it's crazy.
I can totally understand why Notre Dame is public enemy number 1 right now, because honestly, if you look at the rankings, who's the only team that's getting credit for going and scheduling non-conference opponents? The only team that's not in a conference.
That's true. Yeah.
They're getting all the credit for going to play those games, and even though they lost by a last-second field goal and by Tyler Buckner botching an extra point, they're getting credit for playing those games.
Yeah.
And so nobody else is really getting credit. Now, again, on the flip side, if, like I said last night, if they just play Michigan State and Wisconsin, a couple of directional Big Ten schools instead of those, and they beat them, and they're 11-0 right now, they're probably number 2 in the country, right?
Yep.
So it's just stuff like that just drives you up a wall, man. And I'll also never. I tweeted this out last night. I'll never not think it's funny when these fans of these teams get so stinking mad at the committee about where their team is ranked, but then they reference, well, Missouri is number 22 and Tennessee's number 20. Like, well, you just literally bashed the committee for messing up the rankings, but you're saying they did a good job by putting those teams in. Like, Missouri and Tennessee have not beaten anybody worth their salt this year. And that's why you always say, to your credit, pay attention to who they're putting. I don't think it's any secret, they put Arizona State and Houston in that back half. That's a boost to Texas Tech, to where if Texas Tech wins that Big 12 championship and those teams continue to win, that's going to be like, okay, they got two teams we put in the back half of that top 25. They're 23 and 25 right now. Texas Tech absolutely smoked them. Well, they lost to Arizona State, but they smoked Houston, right? And that's just another notch on the belt for Texas Tech to possibly get that bye.
And it's not a bad loss for Texas Tech that they lost to Arizona State now because they're ranked.
There you go. And they had their backup quarterback, which we said all along. Like, we probably think Texas Tech has as much case as anybody to get one of those buys because they did play that game with their backup quarterback.
Yeah, and like also too, like part of what you're saying, I think this is also what you're alluding to, is that people will bash the committee and act like their rankings suck, but then they'll go and say their argument will be, look how many ranked wins my team has. Well, wait a minute, you just bashed the committee because their rankings suck, but now you're propping up your team because of all the ranked wins that this committee the teams that they ranked. So which one is it?
Yeah.
I don't know the correct answer to any of this. I really don't.
There is not a correct answer, and that's what makes this sport so beautiful.
There you go. There really isn't. What we're doing right now and what the rest of the world is doing all over social media and everything else. Look, if we want to play conspiracy theorist, we can talk about like how like maybe the committee is ranking certain things because it creates a lot more interest and it creates a lot more conversation and it creates a lot more drama. And that's what does that do? It creates ratings for ESPN and Fox and the sport overall. I'm going to choose to be naive and think that is not going on.
You're giving way too much credit there.
Yeah. I'm going to choose to believe that's not happening. Okay. I just am. But that doesn't remove the part of what you just said. Like, these are 136 teams, whatever it is now, and all conferences are not created equal. All schedules are not created equal. There's only 12 teams that get into this dance out of 136 or whatever. There's now these super conferences when there's like not all schedules within their own conferences are created equal.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be talking points and drama and people mad and happy and blah, blah, blah. That it's not like the NFL where you have divisions, and if you have this record and you finish in this place in your division, you get in. There's no drama like with that.
Yeah.
It's just straightforward wins, losses, and you're in your division, you're in the playoffs, or you're not. Yep. That's not how this is. So it just go ahead. You're about to say something.
Good.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I think that you were right about if you want to see what agendas if there is certain thing, if they do have agendas, you'll find what agendas they're trying to push with who they put in the back end of those rankings and which teams they want in and which teams they want out, whatever. Again, if you subscribe to the fact that there's conspiracy theories like that going on, sure. I'm just choosing to believe that they're not doing that they're really trying to rank who they believe are the 12 best / most deserving teams in college football to put in. Last scenario here that I want to bring out with the team that's Alabama right now, that's 10th. That 10th spot is, I think you're very, very vulnerable in that spot, because I think, again, people get caught up into thinking if you're in the top 12 in the rankings, that means you're going to get into the playoffs. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
Because, again, there's an ACC team that's currently not in the top 12. Whoever wins that conference is more than likely going to get in the college football playoff. You've got the group of 5, highest ranked group of 5 team that's not in the top 12 that's going to get into these rankings. So if you're sitting there at 10 right now, which Alabama is, and I've already seen other people talking about this, you and I were texting about it last night. Let's just say BYU or Utah, Arizona State, whoever not named Texas Tech gets into the Big 12 championship, and Texas Tech sitting there with only one loss on the season, and they lose the Big 12 championship game. It's hard to fathom, man, that the committee would drop them from 5 all the way back behind whoever's ranked 10th.
Especially since we saw SMU in the same scenario last year.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so, again, if Alabama wins the Iron Bowl and goes to the SEC championship game and they lose in the SEC championship game, like most people, like I've heard Andy Staples today say this on the show. He said, if Alabama makes the SEC championship game, they're 100% going. And they asked him, and they said, well, wait a minute. What if BYU or Utah or whoever from the Big 12 goes and upsets Texas Tech? You're saying that the committee would drop Tech? You think the committee would drop Texas Tech completely out of the playoff in that scenario? And Andy said, yes, I do. I do think they would.
I just don't know. I mean, again, what is Alabama going to do these next 2 weeks that's going to be like, oh, we need to move this team up. That was really impressive. Like, you get Eastern Illinois and Auburn.
Now, I know you'll probably disagree with this, but like, because Notre Dame is playing,
Yeah.
I mean, just absolute scrubs these next 2 weeks, like scrubs of scrubs. Like, I know Auburn's record's not great, but I think the committee, I think, definitely respects Auburn more than they do the current Fran Brown Syracuse team with the injuries that they've got in this Stanford team. If they go to the Iron Bowl and take care of business and win that game, could I see them after that game going into the SEC championship, moving them to 9 and Notre Dame to 10? Could I? Yeah. Would I be shocked if that happened? I would not. Do I think they'll do that? I don't. I think they'll still have Alabama at 10. But, like, I'm just saying, it's something to look out for. Don't be shocked if that were to happen. At this point, I think I think the best case scenario for Alabama, obviously, is to win the SEC championship. And I think the highest that they could be ranked at that point, I don't think they're going to jump from 10 all the way to like 4.
Well, yeah, they will. If they win the SEC championship, yeah, they will. Texas Tech won't get a bye. It'll be Georgia and Alabama at 3 and 4.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, and you think Georgia would be 5? No, Georgia.
I mean, how are they gonna rank Alabama behind Texas A&M when they just beat them on the field 24 hours prior?
How are you going to rank Alabama behind Georgia when they beat them on the field at Georgia? And they didn't even qualify for the SEC championship game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing you got there is like, Alabama would have 2 losses versus both those teams would have 1 loss. Assuming Texas A&M beats Texas, both of them had 1 loss.
I was saying I thought Alabama would only move up to like the highest they can move up is the 6th spot. But I guess you're right. I mean, again, the committee can do whatever they want. We saw a couple years ago when Jalen Milroe and that Alabama team that beat Georgia in the SEC championship, I think they were ranked 9th, 8th or 9th.
The committee still has so much respect for the SEC that if they're not going to give if they're not going to give Alabama a bye, they're going to give them the 5th seed. They're going to give a home game against North Texas or whatever podunk G5 team, and give them a relative bye there.
Yeah.
And then, I could see, again, they can do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
They can do whatever they want.
They can do whatever they want. That they can justify it however they want. They're in that last.
They say every week we wipe the slate clean and we start over. So I mean, we've seen that's not true. They just move teams up 2 or 3 spots at a time. So
yeah, they say that they don't do that throughout the rankings each week, but we have seen after the conference championship games where it looks like they literally did wipe the slate clean and rank teams based off what just happened and after that game. Last one I want to bring up, if you've got any more, that's great. Last one I want to bring up is the Oregon deal. If Oregon loses to USC this weekend, I think they're out.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're out. Like, I think they would have to have help at that point. They would be the
Oregon,
biggest cheerleaders.
Oregon would drop behind Miami.
I think so, too.
I think they would drop 6 or 7 spots like Alabama did, and they're 7th right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think so, too. I believe it when I see it if they do it, but if they just did that to Alabama for losing to the team that they've currently got ranked 8th in the country, like, they're definitely going to drop Oregon further, like, behind. They're going to put them behind USC.
Sure.
So they would probably.
And the question is, what would USC? How much would USC bump up?
Correct. Like, how far would USC move up? And I think worst case that Oregon would be behind Miami, like you just said. They'd be somewhere around 13, 14, 15. I think best case for them is they would drop all the way back to 12.
Yeah.
Which, again, that means they're out. And there's nothing they can do to make up for it other than they would be the biggest cheerleaders for, like, Auburn against Alabama they would need help at that point to get in. And I
Yeah, the
still
thing
they would have to have a lot of help to get in.
yeah, and the thing that's hurting Miami too is just the there's 4 teams separating, from Notre Dame, like Utah and BYU are just sandwiched in there. If, like, Miami was right in front of Utah and BYU at 11, and they're
Which
right
is what I
behind
think they should
Alabama.
be,
Yeah, so it'd be
11 or
different. The
12.
the whole Texas Tech BYU thing, man, like, again, like, I don't know why Andy Staples would say that because nobody I've heard has said anything but punishing someone for having to play an extra game and making a conference championship game is a dangerous precedent to set. How much did we say that last year with SMU? And that's why you were like on Selection Sunday, they can't drop SMU out. Like, that's just an awful, awful precedent to set. Texas Tech, why even play the game? Just sit out, play all your backups, right? I mean, like, just boycott the game.
Alabama, just boycott the game. You'd be punishing Alabama. You think Greg Sankey has been a pain in the ass before? You let one of his teams in the SEC play for an SEC championship, and they're in the playoff field going into the SEC championship, and they get knocked out of the playoff field because they played in the SEC championship and lost to an undefeated number 2 or 3 ranked team in the country. Because that's what would happen in this scenario that we're talking about. It would be
Maybe these conference commissioners can look at their own schedules and they can say, okay, well, like, we got to change something here because we clearly didn't have our best 2 teams in the conference in the SEC championship game to begin with.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe there's that, and there's also this: the SEC coaches already are not just thrilled about going to 9 conference games and still
Yeah.
playing a tough non-conference game. If a team from the SEC is good enough to play in the SEC championship game, and they're in the playoff field going into that game, and they get knocked out, and there are teams that are in the playoff from the SEC that didn't even qualify for the SEC championship game. And there are teams that didn't win other conferences that are in the field, and their SEC runner-up from the SEC championship game is not in it. That'll be doomsday scenario for a lot. There'll actually be some crazy stuff I think that would go down if that happened. I really believe that.
Everyone will just say, cool, your conference runner-up still lost to Florida State. How good can the SEC be?
They can say that all they want, but
that's what all the haters are going to say.
That's what other people from other conferences will say. Yes,
yeah, for sure.
And then they'll flip side right back at that. We'll say, well, that's great. You just put a team that's not even in a conference that also lost to that team that Alabama just lost to in the SEC championship game. But hey, they're in.
Yep. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. We got a lot to talk about. Lance, let's get into big game breakdowns. As always, sponsored by Branded Bills. We have a link in our episode description. And obviously, we have a QR code up in the top right of the YouTube. And also, the link is on any of our social media channels as well. Go to the link for Branded Bills. Obviously, that really helps us out. But when you're there, if you spend $50 or more right now, you're going to get 20% off when you type in the promo code SAVEMORE, SAVEMORE in the promo code. So they're doing their Black Friday deals. They've got really nice hats. Obviously, Lance is rocking the Dad Life hat. They've got all kinds of hats, all kinds of teams. Click on the link in our description of this episode or click on the link in any of our social media pages on X, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. All right. Big game breakdowns. We got one game this week. It is a slow week, honestly. Number 15 USC traveling out to up to Eugene to face off with number 7 Oregon. Oregon coming in at a 9.5 point favorite currently. 3:30 CBS game. Poor CBS. They got stuck with Penn State, Michigan State last week, so they get a little redemption this week, and probably the game that's going to be the most tuned into. So, hey, it pays to have that Big Ten contract, right? So Oregon has won 3 in a row in this series, but this marks the first time that they are going to be meeting as Big Ten foes. I think in this matchup, it's pretty clear you've got, 2 of the top 3 to 5 offenses in the country. USC's dynamic offense. Oregon can really hit you both passing and running. USC defense, though, they are very susceptible everywhere, but especially to the run. And Oregon, as of late, has just been pounding it with Jordan Davison.
Yeah, I think that's where it starts, man. I mean, again, USC has done a really good job here recently against at home against you know, the physical type Big Ten teams that want to line up and try to play in a phone booth and just out physical you and run the football on you. They did it against Michigan. They did it against Iowa. You already talked about it in our latest episode, how impressed you were with USC winning that type of a battle against Iowa in a rainstorm like that at home. And they took care of business against Michigan at home. The problem with USC so far this year, though, man, is like what they're doing away from the Coliseum, what they're doing on the road. Now, again, the no shame of losing at Notre Dame. We both agree that we think Notre Dame is one of the better teams in the country. So, I mean, a lot of teams are going to go on the road and lose in South Bend, and they were very competitive in that game in South Bend. They give up a lot of yards rushing, though, to your point of stopping the run, and they did give up a lot of rushing yards against Notre Dame in that game. But when they went to Illinois, I know the score says 34-32. But you're not fooling us. We watched that game with our own eyeballs from start to finish, and we're not box score berries with that game. Illinois dominated that football game. They did a lot of things to gift USC some stuff there to help USC as far as that game was concerned. But they lost that game, and they honestly got dominated in that game. They went to Nebraska, and if Dylan Raiola doesn't go down with an injury, I think we can say that either Nebraska wins that game or that outcome's a lot different, the way that game ended up going. They ended up having to go to that freshman quarterback that had not played any really much this year at all, and USC ended up winning that game. So, I mean, this will be right up there with that Notre Dame game, one of their toughest test of the season. Going to Eugene at night, both teams have everything to play for. But on the flip side of that,
Actually, 12:30 local kick.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
12:30 local. Yeah, my
Yeah.
fault. I don't want to get anything wrong with times and with weather.
I looked up the weather. It looks beautiful. I
I was
swear.
gonna say, did we actually look at weather this week?
Yeah.
At this
I heard
point,
Pate say it was going to rain earlier, but I looked it up and it did not call for rain as of right now for Saturday. So, I mean, Eugene, Oregon, Pacific Northwest is crazy. You can get rain at any time. So, don't hold us to it.
Okay. But on the flip side of that, when you flip it around the other side of the ball, I mean, USC's offense is dynamic as any there is in the country. And I know that Oregon has played a really good offense in Indiana. But I'm gonna be honest, like this USC offense is more dynamic, in my opinion, than Indiana's. Like, I'm not saying necessarily they're better or worse, whatever. Indiana's got a great offense. We're splitting hairs there. But the overall dynamic part of the USC offense with Mekhi Lemon and with Jacoby Lane and with that running game, it's and Lincoln Riley calling plays. It's legit, and this will be a tough test for that Oregon defense. This will be the most athletic defensive front that USC has faced, including Notre Dame. And I'm just interested to see, man, because Oregon statistically has the number one pass defense in the country. Outside of Indiana, though, they've faced nothing but a bunch of booty pass offenses. I mean, we're talking about some of the worst passing offenses in the Power Four.
It's almost like when Oklahoma, we had a good secondary, but they hadn't been tested yet. And they got tested by Ole Miss.
Correct. Yep. Very, very similar. Very similar. So, I mean, dude, I think this is going to be a hell of a game. I think USC can hang in this game, and again, didn't surprise me. Again, I had their win total over, and they cashed for me last week, and I said that they were a college football playoff sleeper. I had them going 9-3 on the season. I did before the season started. I had them losing this game, but at this point, with everything to play for, they can play with Oregon in this game. I think it just as simple as like you said, USC is going to have to stop that running game or slow down that running game from Oregon. As explosive as that running game has been, I think Oregon's going to get DeCorian Moore back this week, the freshman phenom wide receiver. Obviously, he adds a ton there for Oregon in the passing game. They got Kenyon Sadiq back last week. Do you think USC can slow down this Oregon running game?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
I don't think they can. And to touch on your, the home and road dichotomies there for USC, I sent you this, stat table, I think it was yesterday. And just, I mean, at home, they're averaging 45.3 points per game. And on the road, they're averaging 27.5. I mean, points allowed, they're giving up 6 more on the road than they are at home. Offensive yards per play, 8.4 at home, only 6 on the road. Defensive yards per play, they're giving up 6 on the road versus 5 at home. So completion percentage is lower for Jaden Mayava at home. The third down offense decreases by 16% on the road. Third down defenses, they allow 15% more third down conversions on the road. And like you said, I mean, they are playing probably a little tougher competition. Obviously, Notre Dame and Nebraska, Illinois, some of those teams on the road, but just those are some big splits, and they're not just like win-loss splits. Like those are some big splits. And I just think, to me, I think it's a mismatch, man. I think it's a coaching mismatch, honestly. I think Dan Lanning is a better coach than Lincoln Riley by far. I think Will Stein is going to absolutely expose D'Anton Lynn's defense. Even more than it's already been exposed.
Say it with your
Uh,
chest, baby.
I think they're going to
Okay.
expose the defense even more than they've been exposed by other teams. I mean, I think I saw Oregon's team totals 34.5 in this game. I mean, Notre Dame put up 34 with their offense. I don't understand why you're not looking at Oregon's team total there and trying to, say they're going to get at least 5 touchdowns.
Is that a best bet?
No, it's not a best bet. I do have a
Okay.
best bet in the game, though. I am taking Oregon minus 9.5 to win
Okay.
this game. I just think it's a bad matchup for USC. Oregon, I mean, I think they realize, I think if they're honest with themselves and they look at the rest of their schedule, they haven't had a lot of chances to, make their mark on the season and kind of prove, to everybody, okay, we can still get this done. Obviously, they won at Iowa, but, Iowa's number 20. They got 4 losses now. They lost to Indiana. Like, Dan Laney knows this is a big moment for them. This is a big time game. They had 1 extra day of rest. USC, I mean, that was an emotional. I mean, Lincoln Riley after that Iowa game said that was a culture win. He was emotional on that sideline. It's going to be hard to carry that over, but both teams are desperate, man. Like both teams still have Big Ten championship aspirations. I just think it's a bad matchup for the USC defense. I think Oregon's offense is going to have a lot of success, and I think they get the job done by double digits.
Yeah, I am with you. I'm not as confident as you are in this, but you've given me more confidence the way that you've just talked about this. Again, I had USC's win total over. They've cashed for me there. I had them going 9-3. I had them losing this game. I could see USC having some success offensively against Oregon's defense. I really can. I just think this offense for USC is too good not to have success against most teams' defenses. That's just the way this USC offense is. But I don't disagree with you. I just think that the Oregon offense is a bad matchup for USC, and I think
I mean,
it's
even if
just
USC does what they did against Notre Dame and Iowa, putting up 24 and 26 points, they still allowed Notre Dame to score 34. Like, so, you're talking a 38-24 type game.
yeah. I actually told my pops I thought it would be like a 41-27 type of game that I could see USC. I could see Oregon getting close to 40, and I don't see USC getting to 30
Yeah.
against this Oregon defense. I agree, man. I think in November, this is when pretenders and contenders start getting separating themselves from each other. And in this matchup, I just think that the USC defense is not there yet. It's better under DeAnton Lynn. It's improving, but against an elite offense like this, against Oregon and Dante Moore, I mean, Dante Moore again, man, the dude is around, close to 75% completion percentage. Uh, I think that Oregon getting guys back at receiver. And what do we always say, man? When your top receivers or your top players, whatever position group it may be, the heck with receiver, just overall, when somebody like that goes down, what does that mean for other guys?
Yeah. Chance to step up.
Chance to step up. And what does that do when that happens? It builds depth. It builds like more people get chances.
Hmm.
And I think that Oregon has benefited from that. You saw some guys make some huge plays there in the fourth quarter against Iowa when the game was on the line. And Malik Benson made that huge catch down the field. Like, so guys like that have built confidence, and you've built depth, and you've built like real crucial, like clutch game time reps with guys like that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just think Kenyon Sadiq, and even if Decoria Moore doesn't play, I think he's going to play in this game. It sounded like they were going to try to give him a go last week. They ended up holding him out against Minnesota. Obviously, they didn't need him in that game. But you hit the nail on the head, man. With Jordan Davison and Noah Whittington, those two guys, what they've been doing running the football, if they catch any crease whatsoever, they can take it the distance against you. So yeah, man, I think this Oregon defense will do enough and will keep USC from keeping up and making this game basketball on grass, like we see like an old Pac-12 shootout. I do think it will be there'll be a lot of points scored, but I think Oregon's going to score a lot more. So I'll take Oregon minus 9.5 with you in this game, like a 38-27, 41-27 type of game where Oregon gets there and gets us to the window and gets us in the green.
Okay. Real quick, let's go through some bubble watch because
Okay.
obviously we had one big game breakdown, but there's still some other big games going on that is going to affect the college football playoff. So we'll go through these pretty quickly. The other big game obviously is number 22 Missouri at number 8 Oklahoma. 7.5-point favorites are the Sooners on their home field. Noon ABC kick, 11 a.m. local timeout in Norman. Tigers have not won in Norman since 1966. I believe that's like 19 straight losses in Norman. Obviously, these are old Big 12 rivals.
Yep.
Missouri got them last year in Columbia on some wacky
Crazy,
stuff.
crazy ending that dude. That was a
Yeah,
crazy game.
wacky stuff that went down. Obviously, we know Eli Drinkwitz's record against ranked teams not great. So, Sooners 7.5. What say you? We can do some upset meter here too. Like, what are the chances Missouri pulls the upset here?
I give about a 40% chance. I mean,
Okay.
they can. I mean, they're talented enough and got. I mean, they've got one of the best running backs in all of college football. That ran for over, dude, 3 bills last week against Mississippi State.
Mhm.
Ahmad Hardy's he's lived up to the hype, dude. Again, he is one of the exceptions of like when everybody talks about the things that are bad about the transfer portal, he's one of the things that are great about the transfer portal. He was under recruited. I think he's from the state of Mississippi, went to UL Monroe. And I know it sucks for UL Monroe or whatever, but like good for him, the kid, like the person, the player, that he got to go to a P4 program, an SEC program like Missouri, where he's a great fit for that zone stretch run scheme that Missouri runs, and that he's just one of the best running backs in all college football. That he lived up to the hype after what he did last year at UL Monroe. Again, this is just the definition of strength versus strength. I mean, it's what it is. Missouri is one of the best running teams in the SEC.
Yep.
They're going to run the football. They have to run the football to be successful. Oklahoma is one of the best run defenses in all of college football. Oklahoma's got arguably the best defensive front in the country.
Yeah, and contrary to what Hunter Yurchek, said last night, like Alabama did actually run the ball fairly well. I mean, running back wise, like taking out the sacks and everything, and
Yeah.
obviously, it was buoyed by a 28-yard run at one point in the game by Daniel Hill. But
Yep.
with him on, they actually had a little bit of success. I don't know what the status is of our Mason Thomas.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that he didn't play at all. I mean, he wasn't even like I know it was apparently questionable, but like according to everybody pregame, like he was not going to play in that game. And I mean, really for me, man, like where Mizzou can win this game, or where they would have a shot to win this game against Oklahoma, in my opinion, is defensively. Like Missouri's got a good defense, man, a really good defense, and I don't think people enough talk about how good that defense really is. Oklahoma has 2 freshman tackles, and Zion Lee and Damon Wilson are really good edge rushers and defensive ends. Actually, Zion Lee was the one that Zion Young last year was the one in that he had like a long fumble recovery for a touchdown, scoop and score with like hardly any time left in the game against Oklahoma to win that game. The game was tied at the time, and he got a scoop and score and returned it for a touchdown. That's how that game ended in that crazy game last year in Columbia. But that is how, because like Oklahoma's offense really hasn't been that good.
Yeah.
Even their win at Tennessee and then their win at Alabama, they did enough. They were really like hardcore counting on the turnover battle in those 2 games. And I still think that John Mateer is talented enough, and like as much as he keeps improving with that hand injury, that they're going to get better offensively. I don't think they're going to be an offensive juggernaut by any means, but I think that they can continue to get better offensively.
So results in this game, I mean, Oklahoma wins, they're still in it. If they lose, they're out. They're out of the college football playoff. But the funny thing is that they win, Missouri's not going to be ranked next week. And so all the people talking about ranked wins, like, there goes one of your ranked wins, so
Yeah.
they're in the current top 25. So um, I'm gonna ride with you, man. I know you gave this out on Sunday night, and it's gone a little in the opposite direction. So I'm gonna take Oklahoma -7.5. I just think Brent Venables is going to have Matt Zollers seeing ghosts out there. I know. There's a chance
If
that
Beulah can play.
there was a report out there. It just, as of all the information we have right now, I'm going to assume it's Zollers. Um,
Drinkwitz actually said with his own mouth that the plan as of right now is Zollers will start, but that Prabula might be able to go if they need him to go. Obviously, dude, everything can change between as we're recording this and
sure.
Saturday. So,
Yeah.
Mizzou fans that want to come for us and act like we don't know what we're talking about, if you watch this on Friday or Saturday as we record this on Wednesday,
Yeah.
sure. Like, I hope Rabula does play. That's a terrible injury. Injuries suck in
Yeah,
college
that
football.
dislocated ankle was not great, and to put him out there 3 weeks later against this
Against this
Oklahoma
defense,
defense,
yeah,
yeah, that's tough. And so, I mean, I'll roll with the Sooners 7.5, even if I knew Prabula was starting, because I'm just
I
that
agree.
confident in Brent Venables' defense.
I agree. I just think this Oklahoma team right now, man, is just too good defensively. I do think Mizzou defensively can cause some problems for Oklahoma's offense. I don't think Oklahoma's offense is just going to be like lighting up Mizzou by any means. I think
Yeah.
this is going to be like somewhere between around a 10 to 14 point game is where I could see this going because, again, I do think Mizzou's defense with Zion Young and Damon Wilson and that crew can keep them in the game. But I'm with you. I obviously already gave it out as a best bet. I think Oklahoma wins, takes care of business, and wins this game somewhere between 10 to 14 points. In Norman.
Okay. Coming off beat down from Notre Dame last week, Pittsburgh going on the road to Bobby Dodd Stadium, the final game that will be played in Bobby Dodd Stadium this season, sadly. But they're playing the number 16 Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, 7 o'clock ESPN night game in Atlanta. Georgia Tech currently 2.5 point favorites. Georgia Tech's defense has been struggling, to say the least, in the last two games, giving up 48 to NC State without some of their best players and giving up 34 to a 1-9 Boston College team that can't get much done on offense. But obviously, the other side, Haynes King just keeps doing his thing, and they keep squeaking out wins. And again, they're in a mode where you win and you're in, and they win this game, and they've locked up a spot in the ACC championship game, and they will have a chance to play for a college football playoff. Pitt, on the other hand, this is why it's a bubble game, man. Pitt goes in there and gets the job done, pulls off the upset. All they got to do, they got to beat Miami, but I think they have to have a little bit of help as well from Virginia and SMU. They go beat Miami at home the Saturday after Thanksgiving. They're going to be in really good shape to make that ACC championship game as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. This one for me is like it's hard to
Yeah,
really handicap this game, man, because like you just said, Georgia Tech has like I don't when I look at their schedule, I mean it's a horrible strength of schedule to begin with, and like back when it happened when they beat Clemson, like we thought that was such a great win, and obviously we've seen what Clemson's turned
it
into.
was. The committee says it was a great win if they're giving Oregon credit for a win over Penn State.
Yeah, I know, man. I know that whatever. But I like Pitt going into the Notre Dame game. Talked about how that was a major step up in competition for them against Notre Dame, and it turned out to be just that. I mean, Pitt's beating up on NC States and Stanfords and Syracuse's and teams like that are just not very good in the ACC. So at this point for this game, I'm just Haynes King, which probably his last game ever, and Bobby Dodd. Like I've got to back Georgia Tech in this game, man. And
Okay.
for that reason, I'm doing it. Dude, I can't see Haynes King letting this team lose his last game ever in Bobby Dodd Stadium. So I'm going to take Haynes King and the Jackets to win this game, and I'm going to take it as a best bet -2.5 at home against Pitt to get it done and to punch their ticket to the ACC championship game.
Yeah, normally I would be just a little worried about that, spot right before the Georgia game,
Mhm.
especially, coming off what happened last year and all the overtimes and the chances they had. Like, they've got to feel confident about this year. But again, this is the last ACC game, and you win this game, it really doesn't matter what happens in the Georgia game,
Right.
honestly. This is it right here. This is the end all be all. I don't have a feel for either side because I know that Notre Dame defense, got after that true freshman Mason Heinzel last week. They made life miserable for him. Like, couldn't get much done. Again, I think as much as you said that was a step up in competition for Pittsburgh, I think you're going back down. It's a step back down
Oh,
into
for
the
sure.
ACC.
Yeah,
For
I
as
don't
much
think Georgia
respect,
Tech is a juggernaut by any means.
yeah, for as much respect as we have for Georgia Tech, and I think even a week ago or so, we said Georgia Tech we thought they were the best team in the ACC. I mean, I preseason picked them to win the ACC championship, go to the playoff. Where I'm leaning in this game, and I've already made it a best bet, I'm going to take a total, and I'm going the over 61.5.
Okay. I like it.
Pittsburgh's offense, when not facing Notre Dame, the 5 games before that, was a juggernaut, putting up 53 points and 38 points and all this stuff. I mean, Mason Heinzel was getting the job done, and we just said Georgia Tech's defense has been nothing but booty the past 2 games. But on the flip side, I mean, yards per play, I think Georgia Tech's almost number 1 in yards per play in the country. And Haynes King is having games where he's putting up 500 total yards by himself. You got Jamal Haynes back there if he's not getting the job done. So I just think this game is a wild one in Bobby Dodd. I think it's a 38-34, 42-38, something like that, where that'll easily clear the 61.5. I'm actually shocked that it's 61.5, and I don't take a lot of totals. But it's just hard for me to think like that all of a sudden Georgia Tech's going to figure something out on the defense side of the ball.
I like it, man. Good stuff.
Number 13, Miami going on the road to Blacksburg, where they've been reinvigorated by the hire of James Franklin. No, he's not going to be on the sidelines, but they've been reinvigorated by that hire. Miami has just been constantly bombarded with questions, probably talking about their ranking in the college football playoff committee, and they don't control their destiny in the ACC. This game is a 17.5-point spread. It's a noon kick on ESPN. I love those road teams at noon. They usually come in really, really focused. They want to get the job done. They want to get out of there. It's not a night game. It's, Inter Sandman's always crazy, but it's always crazier at night. Virginia Tech has played some inspired ball at times since Brent Pry, left. But for some reason, I don't know, man. I got a feeling about this game. And I'm going to put it at about 35 to 40% that an upset could be pulled here by the Hokies, by your Hokies. And I'm actually going to go ahead and make it a best bet. I'm going to take Virginia Tech plus 17.5 in this game.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a huge recruiting weekend for James Franklin. He announced that today at his opening press conference. Obviously, it's Virginia Tech's last home game. It's his. He's just now the coach. Like, this is really the only chance he's got to have a huge recruiting weekend for a game. So he's already called out the Hokie fans and told them to show up, be loud, be proud. And I can promise you, Hokie Nation will do that. They will do exactly that. We also know what happened last year when an outmanned Virginia Tech team went down to Miami Gardens and played the Canes when they were absolutely rolling. And I think it was on a Friday night. Nobody gave Virginia Tech a chance in that game. And it ended with that controversial, call at the end of the game, touchdown, no touchdown. A game that ended on basically a play that went under review. That was crazy. It's hard for me to fathom that Virginia Tech will win this game straight up. Just the mismatch and overall talent between these two teams is just outrageous. But we're not talking about winning the game. You're talking about, again, 17.5 points. That's a lot of points. That Miami's laying on the road in Blacksburg, which will be a good crowd. I don't know how much of a difference they'll make or not. I don't have a best bet in this game. I don't have a pick either way. I think Miami wins the game. I think they probably win pretty comfortably, but it wouldn't shock me if Virginia Tech covered the spread like you just gave out, plus 17 and a hook.
Yep. Obviously, Miami wins. They're still in it. And if they lose, then all the things we've been arguing about with Notre Dame, Miami is off the table again.
Correct.
Number 11, BYU going on the road to face Cincinnati. 2.5-point favorites are the Cougs. And I'm going to give you a little hint. This game kicks off at 8 o'clock Eastern, and it will be very, very dark at 8 o'clock in Cincinnati on Fox. And you know what that means. The Vampires will be out. They've won 40 of the past 44 games, being played solely at night. You can go back and look. I don't have the stats in front of me. You can go back and look at our last episode, but um, BYU needs this game. I think Cincinnati still may have an outside shot if things break their way, but BYU controls their destiny. If they went out, they're going to be playing Texas Tech, and they're going to be playing for a chance at the Big 12 championship in the college football playoff.
Yeah, and dude, I watched a little bit of that Cincy game last week because I decided to back them against Arizona, a hot Arizona team. And Brendan Sorsby looked like, speaking of sores, he was an eyesore in that game. He was awful, bro. It was terrible
Yeah.
in that game against Arizona. Noah Fafita played well. Cincy ended up making it a game there at the end against Zona. But, dude, we've seen Cincy now. Like, Arizona's actually pretty physical at the line of scrimmage and played well against teams defensively. We've seen Cincy now, I believe it's back-to-back games because I think they had a bye week, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah. In
before that
between
Arizona
Utah.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, between Utah. Cincy's just got absolutely just pushed around, bro.
Yeah.
2 weeks in a row, 2 games in a row. And Sorsby has played like absolute cheeks 2 games in a row. And this defense is, we know what Kalani Sitake and this BYU team is going to bring to the table in this game against Cincinnati. Dude, I'm not gonna make this harder than what it needs to be. I mean, I know it's on the road, and I know BYU's played back to back to, like, I guess, like, TCU is not really like a high marquee game, but kind of.
Yeah.
But 40-4, their last 44 night games that start at night and end at
Yeah.
night. The BYU Vampires. If you want to, I'm not going to elaborate more on that. If you want to check that out, go to our social media pages and check out the video that Tyler put out last week that shows what BYU's records were in day games as opposed to night games. Again, 40-4, their last 44 games at night. And I think this BYU team, man, is laser focused right now to get to a Big 12 championship game. So I'm going to take the Cougs -2.5, and I'm going to make it a best bet. And I'm going to bank on the fact that Kalani Sitake's BYU Cougars are going to be physical at the line of scrimmage, and their freaking tough, hard-nosed fullback that they've got for a quarterback and Bear Bachmeyer is going to bring some of that toughness. And they're going to take care of business against Cincinnati and cover that 2.5-point spread.
Kentucky's going on the road to face number 14 Vanderbilt. So Vandy's still a team that's hanging in there. Nobody's really talking about them. They're just kind of flying under the radar. But what happens if they beat Kentucky and then go on the road and beat a ranked Tennessee team? They're currently 9.5-point favorites, 3:30 kick on ESPN. Any chance at all here Kentucky pulls the upset? I mean, they're 5-5, surprisingly, to a lot of people's surprise after watching them early in the year. They're 5-5. They've got to get one of these games, either Vandy or Louisville next week, to get to a bowl game, which would be, I mean, again, watching Kentucky earlier this year, that would be a borderline miracle for Mark Stoops.
It would. They're playing well, though, man. They're playing
Yeah.
really well lately. They found an offense. Uh, again, this is another one. This is Diego Pavia's last home game at Vandy. And for everything that he's meant to that program, it's hard for me to fathom that he will lose. And there's other players, not just him. Eli Stowers, the tight end, some of those cats he brought with him from New Mexico State. A lot of guys that's been a part of turning around this program for Vandy. Their last home games. That's a proud bunch, man. It's hard for me to fathom them losing this game. I don't have a best bet in it. I don't. I mean, laying 9.5 points, that's a lot of points to lay against a Kentucky team that is playing well right now. Vandy's defense has not been playing well. They've regressed as the seasons went on defensively. And the way Kentucky's offense has been playing, I could see them scoring some points and being in this game, if not possibly winning the game. But still, I'm not going against Diego Pavia and this bunch in their last home game. Just not doing it. So I don't have a best bet in this game. If you made me call it, I would say Vandy wins this game and maybe Kentucky covers that 9.5. But again, no best bet for me.
Finally, number 20, Tennessee, going on the road to Gainesville to face the Florida Gators. 7:30 kick on ABC. This is the night game. Currently a 4-point spread. Tennessee's 4-point favorites. Tennessee has not won in Gainesville since George W. Bush was in office, all the way back in 2003. I believe that's 10 games in a row that they have lost in Gainesville. I know they were underdogs in a lot of those games, but past couple of years they've been a lot better than some of those Billy Napier Florida teams, and they weren't able to get the job done. We know the home and road splits. We talked about that a ton with Tennessee. What you got to expect just a Super Bowl like effort here from the Gators.
I would think so, man. I mean, this is, again, it is a rivalry game. These two teams hate each other. These two programs don't like each other at all. I would think that we'll get an inspired effort from Florida in this game. And, they played hard at Ole Miss. They quit against Kentucky for whatever reason, but they've played well mostly at home this year against the opponents that they played and played hard and whatnot. And we've talked about the talent that this Florida team has, that if they show up and decide that they want to play, that this is a night they want to show up and play hard, they could be tough to deal with, man. I mean, Lagway is talented and Jaden Baugh is talented. That defensive front for Florida, they've got a bunch of dudes that's going to play on Sundays on that defensive line. But on the flip side of that, yeah, I mean, dude, Tennessee with an opportunity to go in, like this is the best opportunity that they've had in a long time to go into Florida with a team that is a better football team, that is more well equipped to go into Gainesville and win this football game. And there hadn't been as much talk about Tennessee the last few weeks after they dropped that game in dark mode to Oklahoma. I mean, they still, with Joey Aguilar in this passing attack and this Josh Heupel offense, and with their overall just ability to be balanced, run the football. We know Heupel's offenses always want to be able to run the football really well. I mean, they could show up in a hurt. Like if Florida does at any moment, if Tennessee does get a lead and Florida does lay down just a little bit, dude, it could get ugly in a hurry. Like we saw that with Kentucky. If you think it could get ugly against Kentucky, Tennessee can all of a sudden put up a 50 burger on you before you know what happened. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I do think we're going to get an inspired effort in this game from the Gators. I saw where it's a sellout, where the Gator fans are selling it out. It being a night game in Gainesville, I think you will get an inspired effort from Florida. I think this is going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be a really good football game. We're going to get a good Tennessee-Florida rivalry classic game at night, Saturday night in Gainesville in the Swamp. I don't have a best bet in this game. I just think it's going to end up being a really dang good football game between two really talented teams. I know Florida's record doesn't show that, but I think even any Tennessee fan would admit that if they know anything about this Florida bunch, they're very talented. I think Tennessee wins the game. If you made me pick a side, I think they cover. But I don't feel great about it at all.
I do have a best bet in the game. You know where I'm going?
Oh, are you about to back Billy Gonzalez and the Gators?
I am, man. 4.5 points. I found 4.5 with the Gators.
There you go.
I'm going to take a flyer on the Gators. A long time ago, I was a Gator hater, and I ditched that moniker. I was a Gator lover last year. We were Gator lovers this year preseason. I mean, shoot, I think you even had them in your preseason CFP predictions, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, I did. I backed him before the season, man. Ended up being really, really bad on that prediction.
So you know what? In your honor, I'm going to take the Florida Gators plus 4.5. I think they're going to have an inspired effort. They may win this game outright, but just in case, Joey Aguilar and the Vols lead a game-winning field goal or something and rip the hearts out for the Gator fans one last time in 2025. I'm going to take Florida plus 4.5. I think they play inspired. I think they're going to lead into that Florida State game next week. I think they're going to play more inspired football. They want to play inspired. They want to lure a good coach into Gainesville, and they want someone to watch them on the field and say, "Hey, these guys are playing hard. I'm going to go coach these guys. Let's coach them up." So I'm going to take Florida plus 4.5.
All right.
It's time for upset alerts. And of course, I'm going to start off here, and I'm going to, for the third time in a row, well, not third time in a row, but third time's a charm this season, I'm just going to back Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels. They are 6.5-point underdogs right now against Duke. They're playing them at home. This is a rivalry game. It's battle for the victory bell. North Carolina quietly has been playing a lot better the past month. They didn't play well against Wake Forest when we backed them last week. We're going to do it again this week. We're going to take them at home against Duke. Duke looked awful last week against Virginia. They're an awful. I don't know how they keep being favored in all these games. They're just awful. I'm going to take UNC to win the game straight up and creates a little bit of momentum there for the Belichick led Tar Heels going into the offseason. You remember that game last year? Duke got a ton of turnover luck. They won the game 21-20. So I'm going to take the Tar Heels to get revenge on them this year.
All right, back in Chapel Bill. Like I said, I think this is the third time we've had them on upset alert. I'm going to stay in the state of North Carolina, and I am going to go just a few miles down the road to Raleigh and to Old Carter Finley Stadium, and I'm going to back NC State. And I believe that is a Friday night game, little Friday night ACC game.
Yep.
NC State's getting 4.5 points at home to Florida State. And NC State has already beaten Virginia and Georgia Tech on that field this year. And Florida State has been booty on the road this year in road games. So I'm going to back NC State getting the 4.5, and I'm going to take CJ Bailey and that crew, the Wolf Pack, to get it done at home and to win straight up. And they're getting 4.5 points. So I'll do like I always do. I'll take the 4.5, and I will also sprinkle some on the money line and take NC State plus 4.5 and on the money line against the Noles in Carter Finley Stadium.
Love it. We need to finish strong with upsets, man. Okay, we need to finish strong. So
agreed.
Best bets. We also need to finish strong. So let's finish off the episode with best bets. I think I'm 41-41. Honestly, man, the last 3 weekends have just beat me down to where I don't even know if I'm gonna keep track anymore. But I've already given out a ton, and I've got 10 total here. I'm just gonna spray the board. I got 10 total. You've already heard a lot of them. I've given out Oklahoma minus 7.5, Virginia Tech plus 17.5, Oregon minus 9.5, Pitt, Georgia Tech over 61.5, Florida plus 4.5, and UNC plus 6.5, and on the money line as far as best bets goes. I'm going to take Iowa minus 16.5 over Michigan State. Iowa has been killing the teams that they should kill. I mean, they just beat Minnesota a couple weeks ago, 41-3. They're back at home in Kinnick Stadium. Michigan State, it just got, railed last week by Penn State by 18. So I'm going to take Iowa to take a step down in competition, take advantage of it. I'm going to take Utah minus 17 against the very, very disappointing Kansas State Wildcats. Utah has been a wagon the past 3 weeks against mid Big 12 teams. Well, Cincinnati's not a big Big 12 team, but they made them look like a mid Big 12 team. They did some work to Baylor last week on their home field. They're back in Rice Eccles. This is a game that when the conferences merged and the Big 12 became what it was, we thought this would be an annual, like, oh man, this is going to be an awesome game. I just think Utah makes it boring. I think they get the job done. I'm going to take Maryland plus 13.5 against the Michigan Wolverines. It's always the look-ahead spot to the game. Ohio State coming into town next week. They got to go out east, face that desperate Terps bunch with Mike Locksley. They've lost I don't know how many games in a row. I think they play an inspired game. I think they keep it close. And then one more, I'm going to take SMU minus 2.5 against Louisville. The Cards have struggled. They struggled last week against Clemson at home on a night game in a perfect spot. SMU coming back home. I for the life of me, I can't understand why you're saying this is a neutral, like on a neutral field, this would be a pick 'em. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. I think SMU is the better team here. I think Rhett Lastly is he's going to have his boys inspired. I think they're going to play really good ball and get the job done against the Cards. So that's 10 bets. I mean, we gotta spray the board if we're gonna make some money here.
I love it, man. I've got a few myself here, and again, we matched up on a few of these. So I'm gonna spray the board with you here as well. All right, I've already given you Oklahoma minus 7.5 against Mizzou at home in Norman. I've got Oregon minus 9.5 at home against USC. We match up there. I think that's going to be like a 41-27, 38-27 type of game. The Ducks end up winning and covering the spread there. Georgia Tech minus 2.5. That is a play on Haynes King for me. I just don't think that Haynes King will allow Georgia Tech to lose in his final home game, and with a chance for his final home game to punch a ticket to the ACC championship game for the Jackets. So I think Georgia Tech gets it done there and wins by at least a field goal and covers. BYU, the Vampires, 40-4, their last 44 games at night. When game kicks off at night and finishes at night, obviously. This game kicks off at night at Cincy. I think BYU minus 2.5, and this Kalani Sitake team gets it done. So I'll take the Cougs minus 2.5. All right. I'm going to take a coach and a team that is off a bye on the road. And honestly, maybe Vegas will show me why the line is what it is. I can't for the life of me figure out why the line is where it's at in this game. I'm going to take Nebraska plus 9.5 against Penn State on the road here. I think Nebraska's defense can keep them in this game. I think it's going to be a lower scoring type of game here. And I just don't think Penn State should be laying 9.5 points. To me, this line is almost if it's the Penn State team that everybody thought Penn State was going to be this year. And I think that Penn State still got a lot of talent and whatnot, but I think Nebraska can absolutely – I think they can win the game straight up. And I think they can cover the 9.5. But maybe I will figure out why Vegas builds those really tall buildings in this game, because this was honestly the number one line that just baffled me when I saw this. So, yeah, I'm going to take Nebraska plus 9.5 and think Matt Rule's Huskers and freshman quarterback TJ Latif, who played well against UCLA last game, that they can hold it close and keep it within the number against the Nittany Lions. I'm with you on SMU, minus 2.5 for all the reasons that you said. Louisville's bubble was bursted last week, losing that game. Now they're going on the road. The Ponies has still everything to play for. SMU is actually pretty solid at stopping the run. And we obviously know with Louisville what they want to do. They want to be able to run the football against you with that group of backs. So I'm going to take SMU minus 2.5 with you on that. And I've got a random group of 5 game here for you.
Here we go.
Love dipping into the G5.
It works every time.
Works every time. Actually, it doesn't. So
yeah.
Be careful. Fade me if you think you
fade alert.
Fade alert if you want to disagree with this one, but it's a solid spot. East Carolina, a team that I have followed this year, and I've actually backed them a couple of times.
Yep.
They had a huge win last week at home against Memphis. They are squarely in the American Athletic Conference Championship race. Now they got to go on the road to San Antonio against a solid UTSA bunch. It's been a little disappointing this year. But Jeff Traylor's boys and the Roadrunners have already beaten Tulane on that field. And they've been pretty solid at home this year overall. That's only a 2.5 point spread. The Roadrunners are getting 2.5. I'll take UTSA plus 2.5 against East Carolina. And I think they're going to win straight up. I might even sprinkle a little bit on the money line in that game. But yeah, I like UTSA plus 2.5 there. And I believe that is all that I am going to give out at this point. Check X on Saturday. I just can't pull the trigger at this moment, but Kenny Dillingham got me fired up today with a quote. It almost made me I almost just went to the betting app and bet him immediately when I saw his quote. Somebody asked him about Sam Leavitt, and he said, I'm going to worry about the players I have on this team right now and the team that I have right now. We are in the mix, and we're getting prepared to go to battle on the road, and we're in the mix right now in this thing. I can't remember everything that he said, but it just fired me up. And I was like, hell yeah, Kenny D's got the Fun Devils ready to go on the road and take care of business against an abysmal Colorado team. But I'm going to do a little bit more deep diving on that one before I lay 7 points on the road with Jeff Sims.
Yeah, I hear you there. All right, that's it for us. We'll be back on Sunday/Monday, whenever you're tuning in and listening, for the recap of this week. We'll probably dive into a little bit of college football playoff talk and what we think the rankings are going to be like on Tuesday, because we're not going to do a live show next Tuesday. It's Thanksgiving week. We will put out something next week, an episode. We'll see how long we got to cover rivalry week, right? I mean, just so many big games, so many huge implications going on with the games on Black Friday and that Saturday. And so it's one of our favorite weeks of the year. So we'll have an episode next week for sure. We just don't know when. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's it for us for now. For Lance Barton, I'm Tyler Noe. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.